Okay, B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh V'Natzliach. We're doing MISHNA Bikkurim. We're up to MISHNA number 4, right, Mr. Ganjian?
Yes, yeah.
Elu Mevin Velo Korin. We said some people bring the first fruits to the Yerushalayim, to the Kohanim, but they can't read the special prayer. And that's because of technical difficulty. What is that? Hager Mevi Veno Kore. A Jewish convert must bring his first fruits from the 7 fruits of Israel, like pomegranates and figs, to the Kohen, but he can't read the vidui, because in the vidui it says, Sheinu Yochol Amar Nishpa L'Hashem Elokeinu. He can't say, God, you swore to me to take me to the land of Israel, my forefathers. His forefathers weren't Jewish, you understand? Hashem didn't swear to his forefathers that he was going to give him the land of Israel.
Yes.
So therefore, he has to bring the mitzvah. He's not absolved. He has to do the mitzvah to bring the first fruits, but unfortunately, because of technical difficulties, he cannot say the vidui because his forefathers were not Jewish. We know anybody, even though his father's a goy, his mother's Jewish, he's a full-fledged Jew. You understand?
Yes.
So as long as the mother's Jewish, he could say it. He's considered a Jew. He's not considered a convert, right? So,
yes, exactly.
So therefore, he would be allowed to do what? To bring the Bikkurim and say the Vidui. To say the prayer of thanking God for letting him have first fruits. And I didn't know this. This is fascinating. I don't know. I don't think this is the halacha. But he says, Keshem Mitpalel, when he prays Shmona Esrei, we know we Jews have to pay Shacharit Menha Arbit.
Yes.
When he prays Arvit in Shemona Esrei, we say Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Velokei Avotenu Elokei Avraham Elokei Yitzchak Elokei Yaakov. Does he say that? No. He says Omer Elohe Avot Yisrael. He says blessed, instead of saying Elokei Avotenu, he says Elokei Avot Yisrael, because it's not his Avotenu. His Avotenu were non-Jews. You understand?
Yes, that makes sense.
So he says instead the God of the fathers of the Jews. Kesho bebet Knesset, and when he's the Shaliach Sibur, he says Elokei Avotechem. You understand? Very interesting. And next, if his mother was Jewish, like we said before, he's not considered a convert. So therefore, he would say the standard version of prayer. He would say Elokei Avotenu, and so on and so forth. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Next Mishnah. Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov Omer, Isha bat gerim lo tinaseh lekeuna. A lot of people don't know this. The Kohanim are not allowed to marry converts. This is a rabbinical law. If a woman, a girl, her mother and father were Jewish converts, she's the children of, let's say, Abraham and Sarah. Abraham and Sarah were Chinese people. They became Jewish, which we love them, and they're so integral to the Jewish nation. But what? Can their daughter marry a Kohen? No. And the reason in the Talmud Bavli Kedushin, the Kahati says, Ein Ched, is because it says in the Yecheskel, the prophet says, Kohanim are not allowed to marry widow. They're not allowed to marry, Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry a widow or a divorcee. They're not allowed to marry a divorcee for sure. And the prophet Yecheskel in chapter 44 says they shouldn't even marry a widow. They should marry virgins. So it says, anyways, because based on the prophet Yecheskel, we're the Kohanim. So Kohanim, you have to be very careful that when you date women, you're not allowed to, if their mother and father are converts of the girl, they're not allowed to. But as again, if the mother was a Jew and only the father was a convert, then that's fine. The Kohanim could marry such a girl. You understand?
Yes. Yes.
Because they're called Mizera Israel. This is just a rabbinical ordinance that the Kohanim have to be more careful. Echad gerim ve'echad avadim meshucharim afilu ad 10 dorot. Oh my goodness, what? It says, whether you have a servant that was freed, or whether you have a convert, a ger sedek, their daughters until 10 generations are not allowed to marry Kohanim. And Kati explains, Lomar, afilu ad harbe dorot pesulat b'nakona. It says it's even more than 10 generations. Ad shetiyeh iman Misrael. Unless what happens is, Mr. Ganjian, the mothers are a Jew. So let's say a certain tribe of converts, everybody in their family is a convert. Would they be allowed to marry Kohanim? No. But once they marry a regular Jewish woman, their daughter can marry the Kohanim. You understand?
Yes.
The thing that breaks the cycle, we see from here, God bless our Rabbi. You remember Harav ben David? He said a Jewish woman is more holy than Sefer Torah. There's nothing more holy than a Jewish woman. So you're lucky you have 2 daughters, Mr. Ganja. You know why? Because when we want to say Beracha on Torah, we say 2 Berachot, right? 1 bracha before, 1 bracha after when when you get an aliyah, when you're called up to the Torah. But when you want to touch a Jewish woman, how many brachas you have to say? 7.
Yes.
So the Kati explains why is it so important for converts to marry a Jewish woman in order for their daughter to be able to marry Kohanim. And he says it's not only the mother, it's the father also. It says really this halacha doesn't belong here in Bikurim. It really belongs in Kiddushin, but since Rabbi Elazar ben Yaakov was talking about it, they brought it down here. So let's go ahead in the Mishnah. Ha'apotropos. You know what an apotropos is? He's a court-appointed manager for the orphans. You understand? V'hashaliach, v'ha'eved, v'ha'isha. A messenger or your servant or a woman or a tumtum, somebody that we're not sure he's a male or female, or androgynous, somebody that is bi-gender, he's both man. They all need to bring bikurim. So let's say, Mr. Ganjan, God forbid, let's say there's some orphans. Their father was a trillionaire. He was a billionaire. He left them 10,000 acres of pomegranate orchard, right?